All right, this week we're going to talk more about dividing. And we've talked in the past about multiplication and division and how they are inverse operations. They're opposites. So today we're going to start with how is dividing with fractions related to multiplying with fractions. And some of the things that we know that we've already established are that multiplication and division obviously are related. We've talked about that. When I divide 8 by 4, you know my answer is 2. But it's also going to give me the same answer as when I multiply 8 times 1/4. And if you remember last week, I showed you how you could draw that line all the way across, and really 8 times 1 is 8. So all you're saying there is 8 divided by 4, which is the same thing as 2. So when we divide with unit fractions, you're going to see it works the same exact way. We're going to learn how to solve division problems by using multiplication. Okay, we're going to start with this problem. What does dividing a unit fraction by a whole number mean? Mrs. Cook wants to share a 1/4 pound of fish equally among 3 cats. That means she needs to divide 1/4 into 3 equal parts. You can draw an area model to represent the problem. So let's start off just by saying that we know the problem is she has 1/4 pound of fish and she wants to divide it with 3 different cats. Okay, so if you look at this model here, you're going to see what they've done first is they have taken the 1/4 and they've made the 1/4 right here. They have made the 1/4 here. And how do I know that? They've divided this model into 4 columns. So now I know that 1 column out of 4 is 1/4. Okay, so the first thing they did is they divided the model into 4 columns. The second thing they did, if they wanted to divide it into 3 equal parts, they had to take the model and go straight across, like you've seen them do here, and divide it into those 3 equal parts. And when finished, you can see that this 1/4 that we have right here, this 1/4 part right here, divided into 3 parts, leaves each cat with 1 section of the entire section. And the entire section is 12 parts. So that leaves each cat with 1/12 of the whole. Okay? So if 1/4 of a pound of fish is divided into 3 equal parts, each cat gets 1/3 of the 1/4. And if you'll remember, on last week's test, we had several problems where we had to do things like 1/3 of 1/4. Okay? The answer to that is 1/12. Now, I want to show you how we do division of fractions in a much easier way. So I'm going to take my original problem, 1/4 divided by 3. In division with fractions, we like to use this catchy phrase just to help us remember what to do, and it's called keep, change, flip. And what that means is I keep the first number just like it is, I change the sign, and I flip the next number. Now, this number we all know is really 3/1. So if I flip it around, it's going to be 1/3. Okay, so 1/4 times 1/3 is the same thing as 1/4 divided by 3. And I get 1/12, sorry. So if you look, this is the exact same problem as we had here. Because remember, multiplication is commutative. You can say 1/3 times 1/4 or 1/4 times 1/3 and have the same exact thing. And when we change that 3 to 1/3, we call it taking its reciprocal. 3/1 is the same thing as 1/3. They are reciprocals. Okay, with this problem, Mr. Putnam wants to cut a 3-foot rope into 1/4 foot sections. So to figure that out, we have to figure out how many 1/4 parts are there in 3 holes. So basically what they've done here, what they've shown you here, is they've made a number line. And on this number line, they've divided it into 3 parts. So you see right here, 3 parts, okay? Within each hole, in order to divide it into 1/4 foot sections, within each hole, they need to divide it into 4 parts. Okay, so that means you're putting 3 lines in between each of these sections, and that now you have fourths within each whole number. So fourths of thirds, remember the word of means multiply. Fourths of thirds are twelfths. So basically, they took the 3-foot rope, they took the 3 foot of rope, they divided it into 1/4 foot sections, remembering the rule of keep, change, flip. 4 over 1 and something is 4. The answer is 12. So think about it. A lot of times when we think about dividing, you think your number's going to get smaller. But when you're dividing whole numbers by unit fractions, you're actually going to get a larger number because the whole number is being divided into parts. The 3 feet of rope was divided into 1/4 parts for each foot. So the first foot had 4 parts, the second foot had 4 parts, and the third foot had 4 parts. So now you have 12 parts from a 3-foot rope. Okay, let's go on and look at this example. Gemma made 5 cups of pancake batter. She uses a scoop measuring 1/3 cup to pour batter onto the skillet to make large pancakes. How many pancakes can Gemma make? Okay, so we have 5 cups of pancake batter, and you'll notice here they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 cups of batter. Basically, she used a 1/3 cup measuring scoop in order to make the pancakes be very large. So the first question we have to ask ourselves is what you see here in number 2. You need to find out how many, and the answer would be thirds or 1/3 parts there are in 5 cups. Okay, so that's our goal. How many thirds are there in these 5 cups that we see here? Number 3, the scoop holds 1/3 cup of batter. How many scoops are in 1 cup? Well, we know if they're divided into thirds, we know 3/3 equals 1 whole. So that means there are 3 scoops in each cup. Next one says divide each of the 5 rectangles into sections to show your answer to problem 3. So that tells us each of these cups, each of these models representing cups, needs to be divided into thirds. So I'm going to make 3 parts on each of these models. And so now I'm divided into thirds. How many scoops are in 5 cups? Now all you have to do is count how many you have. 5 cups, and they're each divided into 3 different scoops. You should have 15 scoops. That tells us the answer to 5 divided by 1/3. The answer would be 15. And let's just go over here and show why we know it's 15. 5 divided by 1/3. Keep, change, flip. The answer is 15. Change colors on us. Okay, and then the last question, how is 5 times 3 related to 5 divided by 1/3? Well, you know 5 times 3 is 5 groups of 3. 5 divided by 1/3 means you have 5 wholes, and you're dividing each of those wholes into 1/3 parts, or into thirds. Okay, suppose Gemma wanted to divide 1/3 cup of pancake batter to make 4 mini pancakes. What fraction of a cup of batter will each pancake get? So if you'll notice this rectangle right here, they've already taken this rectangle and they've divided it into thirds. 3 equal sections. So we know if it's 3 equal sections, we know that each section represents 1/3. Can't see my writing here. Here we go. Each section represents 1/3. There we go. Didn't want to write. Okay, the next thing tells us to shade 1/3 of the rectangle to show 1/3 cup. So I'm going to go ahead and shade one of those thirds to show my 1 cup. Now, it says I need to divide 1/3 cup equally to make 4 pancakes. So I have to divide this little small part right here, I have to divide it into 4 parts. So in order to do that, I'm going to take my pen and I'm just going to go as neatly as I can and go all the way down. Let's see. Go 1, 2, 3. And those aren't the neatest parts, but I just divided into 4 different parts, okay? So now the next question says, the overlapping section shows the fraction of a cup of batter that each pancake will get. What is this fraction? So if you look at this part right, oh, hold on just a second. I divided them into fourths, but I didn't shade them. Let's go up and shade now 1/4 of the rectangle. So I'm going to pick a different color here, and I'm going to shade, 1/4. So I'm going to come straight down here and shade this 1/4. Now, the part I have shaded, when you look at the overlapping section, I'm going to highlight this overlapping section would be right here, this one part. I've overlapped on one part out of 12 parts. So the overlapping section is 1/12, okay? So that tells me, number 13, 1/3 divided by 4 is 1/12. I took this 1/3 part right here, 1/3 right here, and I divided it into 4 parts, and that left me with this one part right here that overlapped. What multiplication equation also solves 1/4 of 3? There's that magic word I keep focusing on, 1/4 of 1/3, which is the same thing. And that would be 1/12. How is 1/3 divided by 4 related to 1/3 times 1/4? Well, 1/3 divided by 4 means I took this one little tiny 1/3 section right here, and I divided it into 4 parts. 1/3 times 1/4. Remember back when we did models and we divided our model into the denominator? So here are my thirds right here, and I shaded one of them. And then here are my fourths, and I shaded one of those, and we looked at the overlapping section. So I'm hoping that you're seeing how much multiplication and division of fractions really do overlap each other. Okay, this reflection problem is one where we just want to stop and make sure we understand what we're doing. So it says explain what it means to divide 5 by 1/4. So I'm going to just go back and show you what I would do. I would draw a number line, and my number line would start with 0 and end with 5. I'm going to divide this number line into 5 parts because I know I have 5 holes. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to go ahead and name them. This is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, I'm dividing 5 by 1/4, which tells me that my 5 holes each need to be divided into fourths. Okay? So if you remember, when we divide 5 into fourths, we're going to put 3 lines between each whole number because that's taking a whole number and it's dividing it into 4 parts. Now all you would have to do is count your tick lines, count your tick marks, or if you want to take the easy way and you can write the problem out, 5 divided by 1/4. I know the same thing would be keep, change, flip, and my answer would be 20. Okay, this problem asks us to draw a model to represent 1/4 divided by 4 and a model to represent 1/4 times 1/4. Explain the relationship between the two expressions. So I'm going to start with the first one, 1/4 divided by 4. So remember, you start with a model, and you're going to divide that model into 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so 1/4 divided by 4. That means what I need to do now is to divide these fourths into 4 parts. So I'm going to go this way. Okay, so now I have 1/4 divided by 4. Where those, each box that you see here, it would be a 16th because there are 16 total. But where they would overlap would be right here. So 1/4 divided by 4, each part would be 1/16. So 1/4 keep, change, flip equals 1/16. So basically, is this problem here. I hope you're seeing the correlation. The other way we learned how to do it when we were multiplying is draw your model. So you have 4 columns, and you have 4 rows. And then when you shade in, you're going to remember that what you're doing is first you're going to shade in, let's shade in 1/4 this way. Then change your color and you shade in 1/4 this way. And now your overlapping part is right here. Let's see, let me get another color here. So your overlapping part is going to be right here. And that part is 1 out of the entire model, which is 16 different parts, or 1/16. Okay, Helena said that 12 divided by 1/3 is 4. Draw a model and use words to explain why Helena's statement is not reasonable. Well, my first thoughts go to an easy number line. So I'm going to draw a number line, and it's going to end at 12. It's going to start at 0. It means I've got to divide it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So let's go ahead and label these. Each whole number. Now, so I have my 12 wholes. If I divide them by 1/3, that means I'm dividing each whole into 3 parts. So that would involve putting 2 tick marks between each hole. So now I've divided each hole into thirds. Now I'm hoping you're seeing already that there's no way Helena is right, because she says the answer is 4, and we know when you divide whole numbers into fractional parts, you count how many parts you created. Well, I can go ahead and start counting here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and there's no need to go on because we know that's not correct. Helena doesn't quite get how to divide fractions. 12 divided by 1/3 is the same thing as keep, change, flip. 12 times 3 is 36, and if you counted all these parts, there would be 36 parts. So Helena was off on that. Not reasonable at all. Okay, this question asks us to show that 1/2 divided by 3 is 1/6 by using a model. Explain why the result is less than the number you started with, 1/2. All right, so 1/2, so let's go ahead and get our 1/2. There's half. Divided by 3 means I need to divide into 3 parts. 1, 2, 3. So now each of these parts, there are 6 total parts. Each of these parts that you see equals 1/6, not 1/2. Okay, a couple more problems and we'll be completely finished. This is a challenge problem for us. Drew wants to run at least 6 miles this month. He plans to run a 4th mile each day. How many days will it take Drew to run 6 miles? So it sounds to me like we're taking 6 miles and we're dividing it by 1/4. We're going to see how many days it would take him if he only went a 1/4 mile a day to get up to 6 miles. So I'm going to draw my model, and I'm going to start it at 0, and I'm going to end it at 6. Here are those 6 miles. I'm going to divide my number line into 6. Now, if he runs a 1/4 mile a day, that means I need to divide each whole number into 4ths to see what I can get here. So let's do that. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now here's my 1/4 a mile. When I count all these tick marks, it's going to tell me how many days it took him to run 6 miles for the month. So if I start right here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Wow, it's going to take him 24 days to run 6 miles if he only runs a 1/4 of a mile a day. Now let's go ahead and see if we can make sense of the equation. 6 miles divided by 1/4 a day. It's going to tell us how many days it's going to take. Keep, change, flip. 6 times 4 is 24. All right, last problem. Maya made a half quart of strawberry jam. She plans to share it equally among 4 friends. How much jam will each friend get? All right, let's go ahead and just draw a model. Show a half. Okay, so there's a half. Those are divided into halves. She plans to share it equally among 4 friends. So let's divide it into 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now each friend gets a part. How much will they each get? Well, that's 1 part out of, there are a total of 8 parts. So each friend will get 1/8. Let's see if that works out with the equation. So a half a quart divided by 4 friends is the same thing as keep, change, flip. 1 times 1, 2 times 4. Each friend will get 1/8 of a quart of jam. Now, tomorrow when you come to class, we're going to be reviewing this to make sure we don't have questions, and then we're going to be spending the majority of the class period just working with division of fractions. Fractions with whole numbers and fractions with fractions. So if you have any part of the video that you didn't understand, go back and watch again. I'll see you in class tomorrow. Have a good evening.